Welcome back. Today we're going to go over area of triangles and trapezoids. So starting out, two triangles, they're formed when a parallelogram is cut in half. So here we have a parallelogram. If I were to take any corner here and go diagonal across to the other corner, it would form two separate triangles. To show that, I go ahead and trace that to see that we have a red triangle and a purple triangle, and those two form a parallelogram. Now, since we know the area formula of a parallelogram is base times height, that means that we can take this triangle here and we can take base and times it by height, but we're not trying to get both we're not trying to get a parallelogram, we're trying to get half of a parallelogram, which half of a parallelogram is a triangle. So in our formulas, we have two of them that mean the same thing, but we have here area equals 1/2 base times height, or we have area equals base times height divided by 2. So that gives me the base timesing by the height, and we divide it by 2 because we only want half of a rectangle or half of a parallelogram. Okay, so with that information, it says there the height of the triangle will form a right angle to the base. So that means this dotted line right here for height has to be a right angle or perpendicular to the base. So with our first question, we go ahead and see that we have the formula that we're going to use here for this triangle is area equals base times height divided by 2. To plug in the values, we have a base of 14 and a height of 16. So I plug that in. Area equals 14 for the base, 16 for the height, and dividing by 2. So I can go ahead and take that and say that we have 14 times 16 divided by 2 for a grand total of 112 square inches. Alright, number 2, same type of thing. We go ahead and say the formula, which we have area equals base times height divided by 2. I could use the other one, but I like to divide by 2 rather than timesing by a half, even though it's the same thing. I prefer this one just for how I like to do math. And so with that, I go ahead and just plug in those values. We have a base of 3.5 meters. We have a height of 2 meters. So I multiply them together and then divide the whole thing by 2. Which, the nice thing about this is you'll notice that we're multiplying and dividing by the same number. Since we're multiplying and dividing by the same number, those two will actually just cancel, and we're left with area equals 3.5 meters squared. Right, so with this one, we have the area of a trapezoid. To know the area of the trapezoid, we have to take a couple of things in order to understand how to find the area, which we could take it and make several composite figures and find the answer, but they've actually have a formula that will help us. So a trapezoid, it's one or two triangles and a rectangle combined. And we use the formula area equals base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times height. And to break that apart, because it kind of seems a little confusing, the B with a little 1 underneath it, that's called base 1. And so we would then say that that is the length of the first base. Now you can choose whatever one you want to be the first, but once you've chosen a base, then the other one has to be, the one on the opposite side has to be the other base, which I'll explain in a minute. Base 2 then would be the length of the second base. And the H will stand for the height of the trapezoid. So now, using that information, I'm going to go ahead and take a couple of pieces here. The very first thing is going to have my formula there. So I know that it's area equals base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2 times height. So looking at this, I have to find the two sides that are parallel with each other. So if I look at this side right here, is that parallel with this side over here? And if you know what parallel means, that they're going the exact same direction, which those are not parallel. Whereas the top and bottom one here, that doesn't mean that they're the base because they're the top and bottom. They're parallel to one another. So those are our two bases. So you can either pick the 7 or the 12. It does not matter. Pick one for base 1 and pick one for base 2. For me, I'm going to go ahead and pick area equals that 12 to be my base 1. And I'm going to pick the 7 to be my base 2. That means I have that 12 plus 7 divided by 2. And then the height has to be perpendicular to the bases, which this one right here is perpendicular, whereas the 5 is not. So we're actually not even going to use the 5 right now. So we take this 4, and we would then say we have 4 inches, so we times that by 4. So in your calculator you would type 12 plus 7 divided by 2 times 4 for a grand total of 38 inches squared. Alright, so now your job is to take what you've gone through for those 2 problems, and you're going to have these 2 tasks. You're going to go through this task, and it says there to get a ruler, so you're going to need to get a ruler, and you're going to measure this triangle, and you'll need to find these specific things out, which it looks like you're going to be trying to find the area of this triangle, and you'll need to read the directions specifically for finding the area of this triangle. For the second task, you'll need to find the area of this trapezoid. So go ahead and take those pieces of information and find out what you can learn from that while measuring it. And then once you have that finished, if you have any questions or have anything you want to go over, please let me know, and have a great day.